Welcome to Get Moving TV. I'm Dr. Chris Landon and I serve as your host. Ventura County, we have so many things going on here in terms of technology, healthcare, and filmmaking. Who knew Simi Valley has really one of the #1 lots here in Southern California. Once upon a time in Hollywood filmed out there. We've got all kinds of things out there. We ended up having a film festival out there, the Simi Film Festival, with films from all over the world. We had 64 people who had put their heart and their passion into making these short films. And the experience they got was unparalleled. They all got swag bags, they got to be on a red carpet, get their picture taken, and they got to be interviewed by the same person who interviews for the Oscars. So Fernando and Fab TV, you were there. Mm-hmm. So did you feel from them just the joy that they had in getting dressed up and being on the red carpet?
Absolutely. It was an honor actually to be at the Simi Film Fest and interviewing all the directors, producers, screenwriters, and actors acting like directors and producers. And it was just really a great time. And being the solo network out there doing it and speaking to everybody, I had a really good time. It was fun.
So what did you learn anything as you were talking? I mean, this is how we continued on, is you asked a couple questions, and once you get me talking, oftentimes I just won't stop. And there's two young and crazy kids, Joe and Katie, who put this thing on, called me up and said, hey, let's do this. I go, well, okay, if it's your passion, let's go. So how did you feel their passion as you were?
Joe and Katie's passion was like off the charts. They really like promoted the heck out of it. They helped me like promote the heck out of the film festival. I just met a lot of really nice people and about their projects, and it seemed like every time I was interviewing someone about their movie, I was like, oh, this sounds like a really good idea, I want to watch it. And then it happened over again, hey, that sounds like a really good movie, I want to watch that. Every single one person I talked to, I want to see their film, including yours.
Yes, well that was nice. I help people. If I can spend $750 on a camera and lights for a weekend and get them a set, then we can talk about what we have, Good Vibrations with Peter Fox. We're having dinner and said, hey, you got anything going on? Oh, I've had this script from college, and so we were able to film it. We were able to use the Camp Arnez out there, just keep it nice and local. We got a young poem from the Ojai theater company there, and passed over somebody who'd been on Star Trek, but it came across as really how Peter feels about good vibrations, the end of life, and all those things. And we were able to capture it for really kind of a very small budget. Steve Neal, who we've had on the show before, he's had gray aliens come through the walls and talk to him, and so that experience just has changed his life. But also he missed his father, and who died at a young age, and we were able to help him through that experience too. Well, where else have you, besides, of course, the world-famous Simi Film Festival, where else do you do red carpet events?
Well, like you were mentioning, I've been at the Oscars, the Grammys, the American Music Awards, MTV Awards, you name it, pretty much every red carpet you can think of, from Disney carpet to Sony to just name it all. We go on. I have one tonight. After this is where I go and talk to Eric Roberts and John Schneider tonight. So it's every single night. Right now there's a strike going on for the actors, right? So not everybody comes out or is allowed to come out. But I pretty much don't want to sound like a smart aleck, but I kind of go on red carpets almost every night. Every night we're talking to somebody.
So we have A-listers and B-listers, and then people like me you get to meet. So how are the A-listers?
The A-listers come in a big variety. Sometimes the more famous they are, like your Tom Hanks and Brad Pitts, they're just the nicest people in the world, and they're just over their fame, and they really articulate really nice answers, and they don't want to, like George Clooney will sit there and, all right, is that enough? And they're like, wow, okay, yeah, that's all I needed. And then the new fame are probably the worst, because they think they're better than what they are, and then next thing you know, they're not popular anymore. So it's kind of and here's the other thing. Sometimes a C actor can sometimes become the A list, right? Mm-hmm. I interviewed Olivia Rodrigo on Pirates of the Caribbean. Next thing you know, she sang a Fab TV song. A year and a half later, she was really famous. So it was like, I consider us the lucky charm of talent that comes through us, yes, including you.
Okay. Well, I've been touched by Fernando. So, well, we talked earlier just about some of your experiences. How did you end up getting into this whole business of red carpet? There must be a yellow brick road that runs quite a ways.
Sure. So I went to Otis Parsons for fashion design, which I was not that good at, and one of my teachers made me proved to her that I'm a photographer, not a fashion designer, and she switched my career. And immediately, I actually invented a photography process that I forgot to mention, and that process that I invented got me in all these magazines, and I got all these phone calls to photograph. Danny DeVito was one of my first ones on the beach, and my career just took off. I couldn't even finish school. I couldn't, because I was that busy. But school does not teach you how to invoice. I didn't know how to invoice clients. I forgot to invoice clients. I just thought it was so fun. I forgot to bill people. It was just so fun. So I photographed pretty much everybody you can think of. And then my career kind of came to a halt, and I was doing stunts at the same time, keeping me alive, from stunt rollerblade to skydive to falling for people, commercials and movies. And but my career kind of stopped, and a publicist mentioned to me, why don't you do red carpets? And I thought it was a dumb idea. And it transitioned that into actually going to interviews, and one thing led to another, and I'm on a red carpet you don't understand how many red carpets there are in one night. Even tonight, there's 3 tonight. I got one tomorrow at Magic Mountain. Like it's more than you imagined of how these things. Well, because we are in Hollywood, right? You got your Netflix, so you got all these different studios. You got Hulu, you got Amazon. Apple's even making movies, right? A lot of movies. There's a DiCaprio movie coming out right now, Killers of the Moon. So it's just a lot going on in Hollywood, and then TV shows like this every single moment, every single day.
Well, there are lots of different channels. I mean, everybody wants to be Taylor Sheridan and have Netflix series and the like. So with all the different TV channels out there, and I don't know how many millions there are, how has their business model been? Because again, if you're going to invoice them, then they're going to need to pay somebody. I know everybody has Netflix dreams, and turns out Netflix really doesn't pay all that much until you watch more than 2 minutes of the movie, and then.
Well, every deal is different, actually. So every single deal can be different. From taking a film to Tubi to taking it to Netflix. So sometimes taking a deal to a smaller network can be better because you get more money out of them. It goes by amount of times that people see it. Amazon does the same thing. They give you like 6 cents per every second that's watched. So then that can add up. So it just depends on which network you cut a deal with. So right now everyone's going towards Tubi because they want the content to give you a better deal.
So do you use an agent then, or
you could use an agent? You could go yourself. I'm not going to say that Tubi's the best deal, but sometimes Netflix will give you $10 million just to the ownership rights of it. So I'm thinking more of the younger filmmakers or someone starting out or trying to get something just out because there's a shortage of films because of the strikes going on. There's going to be a big shortage, so they're trying to get stuff in and not be stagnant.
Well, and then the Oscars. I mean, it's a funny thing. I think the rules are changing next year, where you rent a movie theater in New York or LA or probably a couple other markets for a week, and make sure that you get your film reviewed and into a little sentence or two in the LA Times or the New York Times, and then suddenly you're an Oscar nominated, and there are people who kind of take advantage of that. So how is it in LA?
I see what you're saying, the loophole of being an internet studio kind of thing to qualify it to be an Oscar movie. It has to be shown in at least a minimum of 100 theaters, I think, something like that. Right. Not just one theater. Oh. You got to have to be, I think it's 100 theaters at least to qualify for the Oscars to be in, something like that. Don't quote me, but something like that. And it's funny that you're talking about the Oscars because I have a documentary I've been working on for about 14 years. It's called Hollywood, I'm Sorry. It's about an Oscar I bought on eBay and took it to Oscar after parties and had a really good time. And you'd have to see the trailer, but it's a very, very interesting film with about 50 A-listers in this film. So this is like a really powerful film about a true story that it all happened to me and a lot of truth in it, and it's a lesson for everyone not to mess with the Oscars.
Well, we'll make that part of your this segment there. We can edit it in. I know that the kids behind the camera would love to be in the seat instead of behind the camera. So, but let's back off to photography that suddenly fell apart. Was that the filming motion to digital? Everybody, if you football games, I got an iPhone. Weddings, I got an iPhone. Just, it used to be they'd give out throwaway cameras at weddings, so you get the candid events and.
So this is how it went. Back in the day when we used film, right, there was a big, huge fear from the clients and everybody that everyone would say this one line, do you think it's going to come out? Do you think it's going to, because everyone would not load the film right, and that was like a big thing. So loading the film right was that one. So I'd waste extra frames to make sure the sprockets got it in there right. Even pop them, it's good, it's good. And that fear raised the price. I was making 5, 10, 20, 30,000 a day shooting campaigns, advertising, celebrities for magazines, you name it. It was like, except for Vogue, they only paid $500 for a cover. But it was just a big draw of how we make money. And not to mention, I shot large format, so 2.25, big Hasselblads, big Mamiya cameras on film. So the billboards are these, in order to scan it to make these little billboards. I shot like Honda Corporation, which 8 by 10 cameras. Big cameras, big Polaroid processing. It was an art. It was hard, and you had to bring every lens. But that kind of when the more digital came into the picture, the more the respect for the craft went away. It kind of did. No one knew their exposures or the ISO settings or everything. And I call myself a doctor of photography. That's why when someone says doctor, I kind of look over too, because like, knowing what I know, I mean, I invented lenses. I did all kinds of things that I made photography my life. Like I know every lens, every camera maker, you name it, I know it. Because you have to be all in if that's your field, right? And I was, and that's how I kind of led into making these fake IDs to make them exist. Back in the day in California, if you looked on the back of a license, what did it say on the back? Kodak paper. So I would print 1-hour photos, I'd print them on Kodak paper and cut them and they were perfect. I even handed a police officer a fake one day, and he didn't think anything of it. That's how good they were. They were good. So that's how that got me into photography, and I really pushed it. And not to mention, you had to process your own film. You had to make your own prints and enlarge it. It's just so much hard work. And nowadays, you literally on your iPhone and go to CVS, print it, it's done. Or people don't even print their pictures. They get stuck on the phone.
Yeah, and now Google AI is blurring the background and all those things. I have a friend, David Palmer, who was in Steely Dan. He's a singer, and then he got kicked out, and now he does this romantic photography, and he's got the Photoshop program down to where it does just certain things to the colors, the lights, brings out certain things in the face, and of course it's his subjects that are interesting. So are you doing digital still photography?
Well, I did transition into digital in a big way. I also shot NFL sports, Major League Baseball, hockey. I shot like everything. Back in the day, you did have to shoot everything. I shot aerial photography, action cars. So that you had to be a good master of all these things because the ad agencies gave you all these jobs. I always like lies. So, Fernando, you ever shot a helicopter? Yes, I have. I just bring a lot of film with me and shot like crazy and made myself learn to do that. So things like that. But I did transition to it. Of course, digital became like the new thing when it came out. And remember 5 megapixel being a big thing. And it went to 7 megapixel, 11 megapixel, 22 megapixel, meaning millions of megapixels. And not to mention, you had to have Photoshop, you had to have aperture, you had to have all these bridging software and computers to make it all right. We'd have a director sitting in a corner with a computer. They'd wirelessly come over it and look at them. And it was hard. It became hard. But then the prices of your day rate started to go down. If I were to tell you your day rate of being a doctor, if that were to go down, you would quit too. Probably.
Yeah. So the red carpet, that's what you moved into?
So I moved into doing interviews. Just like making people feel good and crack jokes. And I never ask anyone personal questions like who you're dating or what happened or divorce. All about the film, all positive questions, just like at Simi Film Festival. Just made it all positive and fun about their film. I just want to know about your film. That's all. That's the best part. That's why you're there. You're not there to be quizzed about your family or anything going. They just make it all fun and positive. That's what all of our 7,700 videos on our website are all about film, TV, and fun stuff.
So you keep them up there for the life of...
The life, yeah, since 2017.
Now, I know you jump out of perfectly good airplanes, so how old were you when you started to fly?
I was flying airplanes as young as 12 years old with our dad, and got into skydiving in 1998 after I was in a helicopter crash. So after that, I'm thinking, I got this, I'm going to start skydiving, and it became kind of a little mini addiction. It's pretty addictive and fun, and very safe, by the way. We even have a shirt that says, the most dangerous part of your skydive is the drive there and back.
So your knees have held up? Because I have some friends up in Silicon Valley, and that was everybody was a Silicon Valley person to jump out, and then their knees started to go after a while.
It's smoothest landings ever. I think those round parachutes from back in the day. Those are the ones where you do these PLF landings, they're called, and you'd have to fall over to the side.
And roll,
these parachutes, you come in super smooth and like stand it up real nice and neat. So it's a whole other era of parachutes.
So have you done things with, fireworks anything in the sky? Because now we have, Steven Spielberg rented, 10 million drones, or Amazon's Bezos, and they did for Christmas, I think it was. They did a big drone show. There's probably 10,000 drones in the sky making things. So
I saw some of those, yeah.
yeah. So are you doing any drone work? Is that something in the future?
No. Anytime I do any kind of drone work on any of my productions, I hire drone specialist guys that they're perfect at what to do. Right now, you can't be great at everything. So drones, I'm leaving that to the professionals that do great drone work and stuff like that.
So do you have to give them advice about? Do you direct them? I guess.
Yeah. I'll say let's just say I shot this one hotel in Las Vegas called Circa. It's a new, beautiful hotel that has a big, giant screen. And we just tell them like this, and I wanted to go around. I wanted to do this, and I give them like a pattern, like a flight pattern to do, and I see what they're doing. I just tell them go up higher, lower, get closer to the Circa sign or whatever, and that's how we produce our commercials or content.
So when you block it out, here with if we're going to make a movie, we're going to do it. We're going to block scene by scene by scene by scene with a commercial, because I guess was it the Bourne Identity? All of a sudden, every movie shot is 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. New shot, new shot, new shot, new shot. And I go, I can't do that. I mean, to do that for 2 hours, that's I don't know, some 587,000 different shots. So.
If you think about it, commercials are worse. Commercials is every 1.5 seconds there's a cut, and music videos every half second's a cut. So we're in that age of that short attention span that things get cut up really quick in order to catch our attention and keep our attention.
So how do you plan? Are you the one planning it, or do you work with the director? Or?
Well, most of the time I am the director on a commercial, and I kind of tell him what I want. Or I work with the creative directors, his ideas or her idea, to us to make a certain commercial in a certain way and keep it in that 25-second or 30-second spot.
So and who have you persuaded to jump out of Perfectly Good Airplanes?
My dad. I took my dad, and what'd you get for Christmas last year?
I didn't get anything. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
it's all right.
But I was trying to make a point that you kind of you kind of don't remember what you got. If someone gave you something on your birthday, or what was lasting, your
experiences.
Exactly. So I give away skydives because everyone remembers. What did you give? Oh, Fernando gave me a skydive. So I give like my cousins and friends. I'll give you a skydive. You'll remember that in 1 second.
I have two friends. They're both but they're both about 75. And she was jumping out of a Perfectly Good Airplane. This is her first skydive. And he went to a Raiders football game wearing a New England Patriots hat. And I thought his chance of dying was much higher than hers.
Of course. Right? You don't wear a Patriots hat at a Raider game, especially an AFC, East hat at a AFC West hat.
I went to a Raiders game, and a football game actually broke out. So what's your new direction then? Do you have
my new direction is to make Fab TV like into your next E-News. They actually buy a lot of our interviews from us because our statement is that we cover the most red carpets and we post the most red interviews. We do. We outdo them 3 to 1. We're talking extra and access. There's more of our content up than all 3 of them put together. So we're next. Our company is next to be the next one.
Now, you mentioned, I think probably before, just about the business cycle for Android TV. So tell me a little bit about Android TV and kind of the cycle that went through.
So Android TV was my first experience into doing red carpets, and I had a website called androidtv.com before Google called themselves Android. So I just love robots, I really do. Android's an old word, used even in books in 1938, discussing we don't use the word robot now, but Android was a word used previously, and even in the late 30s and 40s. So I love that word, I've always have. And my website was about robots playing ping pong and everything about the new Boston Dynamics. Everyone used it. So that's what my thing was about. And I made Lego movies with robots. I really was into I really am still. Actually, Tesla's making robots. So I'm just really into it. And that's what I called my website and name before Google, trademarked it, and that was my red carpet name. And I used that name for a while until Google bought the rights in 2006 to just the word Android. And then we got in a little battle, and my Android TV blew up, and then Google acquired us. And that was in 2016. In 2017, I started Fab TV because I didn't want to stop doing what I was doing. I love interviewing people, just like you do right here. Yeah. It's fun. But the difference is I only get 2 minutes, not 28 minutes. But sometimes we get sit-down, they're called junkets, a sit-down interview with Arnold or the biggest names in Hollywood. And that kind of went away with COVID, which, brought some depression to me because I was really missing these one-on-one interviews. But you get 4 minutes, you have to sit down and knock out 3 questions. And you got to make sure they're good. And you got someone going like this, wrap it up after 3 minutes. And it's a lot of pressure. And everyone's studio people are staring at you to see what kind of question you're going to ask. It's a lot of pressure.
Well, there's kids in school here at the Ventura Adult Continuing Education, and they want to be you when they grow up. And they end up at KUY-TV or whatever, lynda.com got bought out by LinkedIn or whatever. And so what they learned here is the storyboarding and mics and how to use the camera and how to edit and so forth. Do you think that's a good career path for people?
Yes, it is. I'm going to say the number one secret to learning everything, because I've done everything. I did craft service. You know, I assisted a DP. Like, you name it, you have to do a little bit of everything nowadays to know what the guy behind the camera is, what the jib guy's doing, what the director's doing, what the sound engineer's doing. You want to know a little bit of everything, to know the language, to know like how to put in that lavalier, the battery. There's so many things in post and then production to learn. You should know it all. How to screenplay, how to write, you know, how to form a plot, like 3 parts of a movie or a documentary. You really have to get into it. So start filming anything like these shorts, or even YouTube or TikToks, whatever it is, to start to learn the craft. Our iPhones now are really modern and great phones. They're actually cameras that make phone calls.
There we have it. So, when my daughter was dating, she was dating somebody, and he was working as a bellboy, and he brought somebody's luggage in there and turned on the air conditioning, and the man turned to him and said, all right, I'm in Hollywood. What do you really do? Are you a screenwriter, an actor? What is it that you do? And he goes, I do sound, and he ended up helping make music videos and the like. So what other, we know you jump out of perfectly good airplanes and so forth, so are you a screenwriter in your spare time? What's next?
Maybe my main goal since I was young is actually making movies. I made a Lego movie first. It was the very first Lego movie. It really was. So every year I get certificates from all these festivals that you are the first. I get one like, okay, I know I'm the first. Thank you. I made the very first Lego stop motion movie. It's called Lego Wars. It's on YouTube. It gets lots of views. I get lots of comments all the time, and I just gotta finish these films that I have started. So that's the biggest thing about anything, is finishing.
Yes, well that is. And so for financing for these things, you've been at this one for 12 years.
14 years.
14 years, but who's counting? So are there enough opportunities then with what's coming up? Because it sounds like the economics have come and gone over 14 years to finish this hobby project.
On my particular film, Hollywood, I'm sorry, it seems like something new came up, like the guy that stole the Oscar. I got to put that in. Like I was about to finish. Oh no, that's got to go in. And then this happened, and this happened. So it's almost like, wait, I can't stop it now because this happened, or a new opportunity. I interviewed both presidents of the Oscars. It seems like I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop adding to it. So when do you kind of say, okay, that's it? You know what I mean? Then when I did say that's it, then it was COVID. I was like, okay, now when I say that's it, it's COVID, and now people aren't seeing people, and I gave it a rest. I let it sit for 2 years.
So do you see that it's a 1 hour, or do you see it as a series, or you?
1 hour, like about 70 minutes or 75 minutes documentary. And there's a lot. We got Brie Larson, we got Kevin Hart, we got so many people talking about it. We got Method Man, I got different walks of life. Charles Barkley, I got just Stephen A. Smith, all different ones. Why would they take your Oscar? What would you do? So this is the question. If they were to steal your Oscar that night, what would you do?
Oh, yeah. Who was the woman who had it walked? They walked off.
Frances McDermott. Her Oscar was stolen. That's why I proposed that question on red carpets. Even Ron Howard, you name it. I've asked everyone this kind of question: what would happen if that would happen to you? And I get all these great different answers. So everything that's happened to me on this film, about the Oscars, has been that, just the learning experience about the Oscar, new respect for the Oscar. I kind of think I lost respect about that I can just get one and then represent myself as a winner and go to all these after parties, and that's very disrespectful of me. And now I throw you like a love letter to Hollywood, like, hey, sorry I did this. And just like, I wanted to see what it felt like.
Well, you've been kind enough to share a little bit of the trailer with me, and Halle Berry just looking beautiful in Halle Berry. And what if someone were to come steal your skin? She just grabs it.
She's like
and this is mine. No, you can't even see it. I'm not going to tell you where it is in my house. There's just no way. So it is, it has tremendous meaning for them as actors on stage. They're fiddling around. They open their own card. But where it matters in their heart. And what it represents.
We have Reese Witherspoon in the film as well, and she talks about, she keeps her Oscar in the living room, but she has a rule in her house. You can touch the Oscar, take a picture with it, but you got to give a speech and she records it on the phone.
No.
You have to give a speech with the Oscar if you do it. So I think that's a cool way of her letting someone feel what it feels like to hold the Oscar and make a speech holding it. See how hard it is to actually talk about winning something that's so big. Also, Oscars, it is the pinnacle of all awards, right? And if I were to do all the stuff that I did with this award, the MTV award, no MTV award, or like no disrespect, like a Tony or whatever, or a Grammy, it would not have been a big deal. But the Oscar just seems like this super level of like, you know.
Yeah, well, someone spends $100 million or whatever it is to make a film nowadays, and you walk out with that. It's got a lot of intrinsic value. It's your entire life.
But it's sometimes also people have won Oscars and their career's over after they won that Oscar. So it's kind of like being on a Sports Illustrated cover. It's like, okay, your career's not good anymore. Or being on a video game cover, now your career's good. Those three things, by the way, their careers kind of get funky after that. It's kind of like a little jinx. Not all the time, but a few times it happens.
So, so what's next? So what's next is just continue on with what you're doing,
Continue what
jump
I'm
out of
doing.
airplanes. And
Well, my next plan is I'm taking Fab TV public, SPAC. We're going to go that way. We need to make TV shows to develop, gossipy like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I need girls to talk about that every day, about what's going on, the latest gossipy things in a positive way. Remember I was saying, like, in a positive way. Not that Taylor Swift does her footprint on the world is bad because she flies so many miles in her jet. That's she's getting that bad press. I'm like, that can't be bad press.
all right, well, Ventura, you've now got a new career path. We've got the CME Film Festival. That'll be coming up again. You've heard how to become someone who jumps out of perfect good airplanes, helicopters, the death of photography and the rebirth in digital photography, and the economics of trying to make a living out of this. So Ventura, it's time for you to come to VASE, gather these skills up, and all in all, it's time for Ventura, time for you to get moving.